All right. Welcome to the 411 with Jameson, and today I have Angela Hein. Right? Did I pronounce it correctly?
That's
Hein?
correct. Hein.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
I still had you in my phone as Angela Eicher,
Yeah.
and then, but when you come up on text, or I think maybe it's Facebook or Messenger, I don't know, it comes up Hein, and so I need to correct your actual contact
Yeah. I haven't
in
been
my
an
phone.
Eicher since 2015.
Well, I've known you for a long time.
Yeah.
So we've known each other. Well, we've known each other longer than that. I was trying to remember exactly when we met. And we met when you had your studio. You had a studio, studio something
Studio
10.
212.
212. And you had done this amazing photograph of this girl in a magazine dress. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Yeah, we did. So we had Studio 212 was my photography studio, and then it was a combined photography studio with hair salon. And so my partner that did the salon, we did a project that was a huge dress. I don't even know how much it weighed, like 50 pounds.
Oh, it was a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
Magazine, it was fashion magazine, coned into a
Yeah.
dress. Yeah.
Because if I remember right, it was magazine in chicken wire.
Yep.
But it made for this phenomenal photo. And in fact, you let us hang that photo in my wife's boutique when she first opened in 2014. So I know I knew you before then.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, we started in the studio, photography studio in 2011, I think.
okay. Now, how did you end up in Guthrie?
2015 is when I started that, I think.
No, it had to have been before because my wife just celebrated 10 years.
Okay.
And we had that, we got it, you let us blow it up in a real big canvas and we hung it in the boutique because it was just the girl, she had like purple hair. I mean, it was just a rad photograph.
Yeah.
I mean, and the brick streets,
The
like
contrast with downtown Guthrie.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yep.
It was like steampunkish almost kind of too, a little
Yeah.
bit maybe. I don't know.
I always like to do kind of an ugly, pretty combo on photos. So
There's nothing ugly about it though.
nothing ugly about Guthrie, nothing ugly about her, but it was just the contrast of the brick and then
Sure.
the softness of everything. So
Yeah. No, it was really cool. And so then
Yeah.
from that, of course, you let us hang the photo in the boutique, and then you did my very first headshots when I got involved in real estate, which I actually didn't
Which
even.
you put literally everywhere.
I did.
On every corner in the
I
entire
did.
town of Guthrie.
I did, and you made
billboards.
my blue eyes pop so well that literally I would have people come to the office just to want to see if my eyes were real.
That's funny.
But you did. So we had those. I did those. I did billboards in Guthrie. I had them on Waterloo Road. I had them on Sooner Road.
Yeah.
And-
People used to give me a hard time because your face was everywhere. I
Yeah.
was like, well, I mean, it's business.
Well, and we did those photos. In fact, the one that was used, we took some of those pictures upstairs of the old Bluebell. Like the shit was falling off the walls. I mean, the backdrop was not anything great.
It was just good lighting.
It was just the lighting, and
Yeah. And if you remember, one of those days, maybe that same day, there was tornadoes that day.
yeah, there were because we were talking about doing them
We were trying to
outside.
hustle.
Well, we were talking about doing them outside, but the wind was crazy, or
Yeah.
was picking up, and we're like, okay, and you're like, let's go up here. The lighting's normally good, and we did, and the lighting was great
Yeah.
because
It was beautiful lighting up there. I love shooting up there.
those shots.
Yeah.
That really, and so I know that was in 2015 is when I had those first headshots.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we've done it, one other time since
No,
then?
two other times. We tend to do it every time
Yeah.
my hair
Changes.
changes. Yeah.
I'm usually the other way around. I usually end up with new photos after my hair's changed, or before my hair changes. I don't know. I see it in photos and I'm like, oh, gotta change that.
Yeah. Well, I need to do it again because my hair is shorter and thinner, and it's losing.
It's definitely evolved.
Oh, it's very much evolved. I used to have like long hair, lots of it, and now it's thinning, and I don't have.
You were kind of known for your hair.
I was.
Too,
I was. People like James long hair too, and it was just like I don't have any. I had started TRT therapy is what made me lose my hair. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but oh well,
It's working.
it works.
Yeah. And then we did, I did photos for your wife's boutique
Yes, yeah.
that you also put on a billboard, and then we've done family photos.
Yeah, you did that really cool one. You made it where you took a picture of, like, I don't remember,
The dressing room.
four different ladies in the dressing room, and then you were able to stack them side by side to make it look like they were all in there together. And it was like 4 or 5 individual photos.
Yeah.
But then you just made it look like she had a wall of dressing rooms in her store, which really she only had 2.
But it was cool, though.
But it was a really cool photo,
Yeah.
and we got a lot of compliments on that too. Like, that was just awesome. I mean,
I think it's good advertisement for a boutique. So I was trying
Yeah.
to think about how can you tell the story. You know, I'm always about how do you tell the story in as few words as possible visually. Like, how do you convey what you do without having to put a ton of words on top of it?
yeah.
But I'm also the word person too. I'll put all the words. But
But I mean, what I've always admired about you is your eye. Like, you just have an eye for, like, art. Like, you know, anybody can go take a picture, right? But really to have something that's photograph worthy or
yeah.
longevity worthy, other than just a snapshot for a Instagram post or something like that, is one thing. But to actually have something that you want to put on a canvas, or you want to frame in your house, or you want to put out there for long term. I mean, you've really got an artistic eye.
Well, thanks.
So that's
When I first started photography, I actually started, was part of a photography life group through Life Church.
okay.
And so I had gotten a camera from my ex-husband in, 2009. And I was so excited because I wanted a camera my entire life. And he got me a camera, took it out of the box. I was going to take pictures, and I obviously didn't know what the hell I was doing. So took it out of the box, tried to take a picture, and it looked like crap. And I got pissed off, threw it in the box, and it sat there for another 2 years. And so then in 2011, I got connected with that life group and took that camera to my first group there and said, I don't know how to use this stupid thing. And they showed me a few things, and then I was off.
So you're really kind of self-taught. Like, I mean,
100%.
yeah. You didn't
Self-taught, but also had definitely,
But you didn't take any professional
that-
courses or anything
No.
in photography.
I would love to, but no.
Yeah.
Nothing like that. I used to shoot, I was shooting, there used to be an abandoned house over by the park in Guthrie.
Okay.
That one that it had on the door, somebody had misspelled "No Girls Allowed."
Okay.
Remember that
Yeah.
one?
Yeah.
So that was the first place that I started doing any photos. I'd go in there because the door was always open, roof caving in on itself, crap, just bad. But it looked cool because it was, bright. There was some deep red colors in there, and it was just really like nice colors. And so I went crazy taking pictures in there, and I was showing it to my photography group, and one of the professionals that was part of that group, he said, you ever think about putting a person in there? And I was like, no, great idea. So I went home and got my kids, took them. I was like, let's go to this abandoned house, children, where it's completely unsafe.
Yeah.
And so they were the first, my daughters were the first 2 that I ever took photos of with, in like trying to do anything professionally, and with some interesting photos, and I've certainly learned a ton since then. They were, at the time they were amazing. I look at them now and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, sure.
The shot was good, the editing was god awful.
Yeah.
But
Well, it's with anything though, as you hone your craft,
Yeah.
right? I mean, when
Yeah.
some of your first work, you always look back at it and you think, I didn't even offer you any water. I'm so sorry.
I saw it.
Okay, all right, cool deal.
good.
Oh yeah, there's some right there. But yeah, it's like, my mother-in-law, she was an amateur photographer and she did our photos for years. And I remember in high school, because my wife and I, we were good friends in high school, and her mom would always say, hey, let's go do pictures, and so we'd go take pictures, and I always enjoyed that. In fact, it was the summer before my senior year, and it was before the 4th of July, because I know this because the fireworks stands were out, and there was like this patch of wildflowers sitting on the side of the road, and
make you
she's
go
like,
lay in it?
go sit over there and I'll take your picture. And so I went and sat in it, and I sat in the biggest fucking sticker patch, like I had stickers all over me. But
you got
that
shot,
picture
though, did you?
was so good. I used it as my senior picture. It was one of my senior pictures. It was just me, tan and a red tank top, sunglasses over my head.
Pants
Like
not
it was
big enough
just,
for a sticker patch.
it was just a cool shot. And
Yeah.
but she also, just was self-taught. You know, she would go to camera club classes and you know, learn a little bit. She loved to do her kitty cats and stuff like that. And I mean, we've got tons and tons of photo albums of pictures that she had done over the years. Just, you know, she loved to take pictures of family, but she really loved her cats.
Yeah.
But I say all that because she was just self-taught. You know, she just loved the camera and loved to try to figure out how to make, you know, a picture or make a, you know, a portrait out of a snapshot. Really.
Well, my very first photography group, like the Photo Life group, first time I went was in August of 2011, and I did my very first paid shoot in November of 2011.
Okay.
And I had, you know, I always, even now, I still suffer from kind of imposter syndrome, and especially then, I'm like, you're gonna give me money? Like, I felt bad for taking their money. I was like, I did not have a good relationship with money. You know, my life, I've never really had it. And so, especially at that point, the idea of somebody giving me money for something that I was creating was really uncomfortable. And so they gave me $75 for this whole family session. It was an Edmond police officer and his family. And we did it downtown at the farmer's market or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And anyway, he gave me $75 to do this family shoot. And I mean, I was like all the way back, zooming all the way in, and then cropping it really small and then making it bigger. And I screwed it up 10 different kinds of ways. But they loved the photos, though. They still have the photos. They still post the photos every once in a while. Like, they loved the photos. And that was when I realized that, you know, for me, I was homeless for 2.5 years. And so as a teenager. And so when I learned that people would give me money to do photography, that automatically changed things for me, because it gave me a skill set that I could take with me no matter what's going on. If I had a job, didn't have a job, I was never ever in my life going to have to worry about completely being without, because I had a skill.
Yeah.
You know? So even if it, you know, even now, if it was like with my phone or with something else, like, I have the ability to take a quality photo, and I know how to, you know, I know because I've done it. I'm pretty much all in or all out. And so when I started doing photography, I treated it just like I do anything else that I do, and I learned everything that I can about it. And because that imposter syndrome, you know, I have to do it well, or I don't want to do it at all. And so I don't want to look stupid. So I got really good at it. Right.
Yeah.
But I actually have a passion for it. I really do. I do love to do photography. But like with any business, when you have to do the business side of the art, it kind of sucks the fun out of the art.
Sure.
So, you know, I've kind of slowed down a lot on how much I'm doing it, but I love that I have that to fall back on. You know, no matter what's going on, I can always, you know, catch a couple photo shoots or something to take care of stuff if I need to.
And you kind of transitioned yourself from photography to digital art. You kind of went through some hell with your health. Like, you got some misdiagnosis, really had a tough time there for a while, and started doing some digital art, which is equally as amazing. Like, some of that stuff that I've seen on your website.
So the reason that I've kind of transitioned, well, you know, it was all COVID did a lot of things to different people, but during COVID, I didn't have as easy access to, you know, art supplies and things like that. And I had already gotten an iPad for some other reason. I can't remember what the reason was, but during COVID, because I couldn't get more art supplies, I couldn't get more canvases, I couldn't get the things that I wanted very easily. And plus, I didn't have any income, so, you know, it just like, didn't have a dispendable income. Dispensable? Whatever.
Disposable?
Didn't have enough of it.
Maybe? Yeah,
Disposable
sure.
sounds good. But I had downloaded an app called Procreate on my iPad, and I had an Apple Pencil, and so I just started screwing around with it. I was like, oh, this is cool, you know, because I've always drawn. Like, since I was a little girl, I've always drawn. And I used to never do any color in my drawings. I always did just pencil drawing with no color, because every time I would add color, I'd screw it up, because I don't understand color theory nearly enough to be able to look at something and know what color should be there. And so whenever I got the iPad, then I could, a big part of my problem right now is my vision is horrible, which, you know, when I was taking your family photos, I'm like, I have no idea if these are even in focus or not at the moment, but fortunately some of them were. But But with the iPad, I could zoom in, like almost indefinitely. You can just zoom in. So I could, no matter what I was drawing, I could still get in there and really see what I was doing and be able to like find my lines and all that kind of stuff. And so I just developed this obsession with it during COVID that I think during that first year I drew probably close to 200 different
Oh, wow.
drawings because I was doing something almost every single day.
Yeah.
And you know, and then because of the medium, of course, there's a lot of flexibility with how you create art, what it looks like. But I've always done women's portraits. I've always loved to draw women. I think since I was little, I was drawing women. Usually they were sleeping for some reason. I think they maybe were depressed. I was depressed.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, that transitioned kind of away from the photography a little bit, more into the art. And so I still have, I haven't drawn much this year, but when I do,
Yeah.
I sure enjoy it. I like it a lot.
Well, you can tell. I mean, it
Yeah.
really shows in it just all seems like there's a story, you know?
Yeah.
Like when you see somebody like, it comes to life, really. I mean, I think in your stuff.
Well, thank you.
I've always been a fan.
Well,
But-
I got a whole lot of it for sale.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So how do you sell your stuff? You've got it on a website?
Right now, honestly, I have it on my business website, but it's not even visible unless
Okay.
I give somebody the link. You can't even see it, but it's just impact405.org/art by Angela or something
Okay.
like that. I'm not sure. I don't even know.
Which was the next thing I wanted to talk about
Oh,
was
yeah.
Impact 405.
Yeah.
You've kind of transitioned into this cause or this passion of yours on trying to help people.
Yeah.
And so tell us about that. Like what is that?
So I've been in nonprofit off and on since 2003. So is that 21 years? 20?
It's a long damn
no,
time.
I don't even know how long that is.
Well, it's 24, 21 years, yeah.
Okay. Not consistently, but the first job that I had in nonprofit was 2003. When I first moved to Guthrie, I worked for Eagle Ridge Family Treatment Center.
Okay, yeah.
And so I've always had a really strong strong passion for helping other people, and that stems from my own personal experience with homelessness and stuff that I went through as a kid and young adult, I would say. And so back up just a little bit. This last year, I worked for 14 months for a local nonprofit, who I will not mention because that didn't end well.
Okay.
But it was a great experience for me. I learned a lot. I got to meet a lot of people, make a lot of connections, and I learned a lot of what I don't want in a business. I learned a lot about what I don't want, how I don't want to operate as an owner of a business, as a founder. So I'm really grateful for the time. But during that time frame, that last 14 months, I really had a super clear picture of how challenging it still is, 34 years later after I was homeless, what it's like to be somebody that is in need of resources, and how challenging it still is to be able to access resources. And that might be anything like food, clothing, shelter, medical, legal, maybe you have a family member with diabetes that needs diabetes education, or whatever the need is. It doesn't have to be homeless on the street level need, but we all have kind of need for different resources at varying times. And there's not a really comprehensive way to locate resources. And so for someone like myself, I'm pretty tech savvy. I can find what I need to find most of the time. But even for me, there are times where I've tried to locate certain resources to help somebody else and find myself spending 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, and still not be able to find what I know is out there.
Right.
And so that frustration, and then combined with my experience at that nonprofit as their executive director, I just really started to see how big of an issue that is, and in Oklahoma, we have over 20,000 nonprofits. We have more nonprofits in Oklahoma than anywhere in this state.
Damn, it's
in
like
the
fucking
country.
churches, isn't it?
In the country.
Like Guthrie, I
Yeah.
think we got more churches per capita than any other place in the country.
Well,
Like,
I said to somebody the other day that we have more nonprofits in Oklahoma than anywhere in the country, and they said in the world, actually. Like, there's nowhere else that has as many as we do here. But I guarantee you, if you went and tried to ask somebody, how do I find this simple resource, they
Right.
would not be able to tell you who does it. And or would they be able to know how to do it? So we do have a couple different platforms in Oklahoma that address that access or resource accessibility. But unfortunately, there's still huge gaps in that.
Yeah.
Like I'm not ever going to say anything negative about somebody that's trying to solve that problem.
sure.
Because it's hard work. It's a lot of work. But there are still gaps there as far as the ease of use and then how comprehensive it is. And so with that said, whenever I started to see that my job with this nonprofit was coming to an end, I started planning for my exit. I started Impact 405 in January, and initially it was just storytelling. So I was going to do storytelling for nonprofits because I needed a way to showcase my writing skills and didn't really have that.
Okay.
And I wanted to have something tangible that I could include in a resume or whatever.
Yeah.
But I wanted to make it useful and not just be, to help me get a job, but I wanted to make it be something that would be useful for somebody else. So I started doing Spotlight for Good Stories, which are 2-hour interviews with different nonprofits, and then I helped tell that story really elaborately with all the words,
Yeah.
all the information, and then was doing that once a month. And so when I became aware that there was still just this huge conversation about how do we solve this problem about resource accessibility, I kind of shifted into trying to think of a solution for that. And so my solution for that is I'm developing what will be called Oklahoma Resource Hub.
Okay.
And Oklahoma Resource Hub is a centralized, comprehensive directory that will house all 20,000 plus of our nonprofits throughout the entire state of Oklahoma. And when I say that, I recognize that that's a huge task. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
going to wake up tomorrow and it's going to be done. It's going to be a process, and it will take time. It will take a lot of people to do it. But it's something that I think is necessary and it's worthwhile. But in addition to having the nonprofits on this directory, which will be listed for free, users like the community will be able to use it for free. I'm also including a way for nonprofits to be able to very easily connect with volunteers that want to do work. So let's say if you wanted to do data entry and that was your thing, like you love data entry.
I don't.
If you did,
Okay.
on your profile, you would have all the boxes checked of what all the things that you want to do. And it's not like this list of things you want to do on the way it looks.
Uh-huh.
But when a nonprofit comes in and searches for data entry, it's going to trigger your profile to show up in a feed of
Okay.
results of all the people that say, yes, I want to do data entry. And then they'd be able to look at your profile, learn more about you, see other stuff that you're interested in doing, and then reach out to you if they wanted to connect. But it's just kind of enhanced like matchmaking for volunteerism.
Okay.
And then in order to keep all of that free and accessible, we've incorporated membership tiers for businesses to be able to do marketing on that.
Okay.
So our goal with that is obviously to have all the businesses, but we just really want to make sure that we can get to a point of sustainability so that I would like to be able to do that full time and stay in that full time, but I would love to be able to get it to a point to where it I can hire people to maintain that, and that's going to come through. I've got to have some sort of revenue, and so that's where those businesses come in. And if you've got potentially 4 million people looking at Oklahoma Resource Hub, it makes sense to have your business listed there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But it just it's all about relationships, and it's about really connecting with people. And so I've been really intentional about trying to approach that in a way to where I'm building relationships with these organizations. And I can't go have an individual conversation with 20,000 nonprofits, but as much as I'm able to, I'm really trying to build relationship. And because I think that no matter what we have going on, no matter what the need is, if we're in relationship with people, we're always going to have more opportunity and more network, larger network and support like that than to just be a name instead of the relationship. And people support relationships. They don't care about business names,
Right.
So.
But the idea is great. I mean, I know from my perspective and in what I do, property management, I mean, we come across tenants from time to time that, they're not paying their rent, or they're unable to pay their rent. And then so you kind of dive into that to see, what is it that they need, what's going on. And sometimes, I mean, we've had instances where we're like, okay, this tenant is elderly, this tenant isn't, they're trying to survive off of Social Security alone, but they also have some other issues going on. And then you find out they're a veteran, and you find all these things out about them, and you think, my God, there's got to be help out there for this person in some form or fashion. But just trying to figure out where to go for it, I mean, sometimes that's the overwhelming part, like you can't type into Google, what you're looking for and always
Trust it
to give you something that you're like, okay, this is an organization that can help this person, or at least this is a rabbit trail that I can go down and see if I can find this person help.
Yeah, so our goal, we're not going to be able to start off in this place, but our goal at some point is to be able to kind of transition from a typical, like, type in the keyword, zip code directory, to be able to do transition into artificial intelligence, use AI, so that it can just be a conversation. So my preference would be that instead of typing in, I'm looking for help with rent or utilities or whatever, that you would be able to go on and say, hey, I just got evicted and I need somewhere to go, and it's going to go, oh my God, so sorry you are going through that, here are some places you can go right now. Like, I want it to be not only to be able to search that database, but I love the idea of it also having just kind of a compassionate response.
Well, and not only that, it wasn't necessarily, and I've got a particular previous tenant that I'm thinking of. I mean, it wasn't the fact that they weren't able to pay their rent. It was it was really the living conditions that they were putting themselves in because they weren't able to care and maintain for themselves, but yet they were living on their own. And so they had no family. They didn't have, they didn't have
access to resources.
They didn't have access to resources. And not only to mention that, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to put down or look down on anybody, but they just didn't have all their 5s and 10s, upstairs to really even know that they needed help.
Yeah.
To really understand that this isn't how you live, and that you need some assistance.
Yeah.
But they were all, and I say they didn't have all their 5s and 10s. He was a veteran, and he seemed like he's a very proud man as well. So I could also understand not wanting to ask for help. He thought he could do it on. He was making it, but was he really?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I believe that, anytime you look at a specific problem, there's always a gamut of problems. If you're looking at somebody that is obese, you're not just looking at somebody that doesn't know how to eat properly.
Right.
You're looking at, there's some emotional, mental, physical, like there's always going to be other issues that are kind of coexisting things. And so, I'm part of a group, I've connected with an organization called the Lynn Institute over the last few months since I started Impact 405. And Lynn Institute does a lot of really great stuff, and they do healthcare research.
Okay.
So, and I don't work for them, and I don't really understand it fully, so I don't want to speak too much into like how or what they do, because I'm not going to get it right probably. But one of the things that they do currently, one of their programs is called Healthy, Hopeful Communities. And I think that spawned from the research that they did about like trying to assess needs and like what areas of Oklahoma were most in need of specific things. And one of the things that they came across was diabetes was super, super high in some of the lower income areas. And I think, if I remember correctly, some of the areas on the northeast side, so it was African American community, is really, really significant in comparison to other areas. And so they've established all these different programs to try to help resolve some of that. Like, how do we solve diabetes? How do we help people that are living with diabetes to live healthier and more hopeful lives? And so I'm on one of the committee, or actually 4 of the committees for that. And so we're just trying to assess, like, what do we do to help people that are living with diabetes take more ownership or responsibility? That's not the right words, but to try to, like, change some of the behavior, change some of the eating, change the different things so that they will feel better, so that their diabetes will be managed better. And why are people that are living with diabetes not necessarily doing the things that they've been told they need to do? Well, I mean, it's, I wouldn't want to have somebody come in and tell me that I can't eat that crap anymore, and I can't do this and I can't do that. And, I think I've not personally experienced having diabetes, but I can imagine if I had people telling me all the stuff I can't do, I would probably be irritated as crap, right?
And I can think of it too. I mean, my grandmother was diabetical, and
it's diabolical.
Diabetical. I always say she got the diabetes. But the problem, I think, a lot of people have, I mean, it's the quality of our food. It's the access to the food. I mean, when you're hungry and you want a snack, and you really think about what the availability of snacks are, mm-hmm. It is 9 out of 10 times easier to go find something unhealthy mm-hmm. to fill a craving than it is to find something that's healthy to fill that craving. I mean, you could sit here and say, well, you could go eat, carrot sticks and celery and all these things.
Sounds fun.
And yes, you could, but does it fill that craving? Yeah. And so many times, I think what people forget is that our food is poison, and it causes cravings of things that you want more of what's bad for you. So to have that own self-control, because I struggle with it. I'd much rather eat a damn Reese's than.
You're only eating one Reese's? That's cute.
Oh no, I'm eating I'm eating the Christmas tree, or I'm eating the jack-o'-lantern, or I'm eating the Easter egg ones. Every holiday they've got that big one, mm-hmm. Available. And then you can get it in king size, and that's 2 of them. Mm-hmm. And that's the one I want.
Part of it, like, there's so many different pieces at play, like with something like diabetes even. There's so many pieces at play, because for you, it might be food choices, right? For somebody living in 73111, it might be because they have 2 grocery stores that, like, there's the Market at East Point on Northeast 23rd, and then now the Homeland on Lincoln. But, like, part of it is just access to literal grocery stores, right?
I got a funny story about that.
And how far do they have to go in order to get the food? And so, what was your story?
Oh, I stopped to get something. Stopped at that Homeland to get paper plates one day. Well, I got it. It was the day of Halloween for trick or treating, mm-hmm. and we always have people over, and we pass out candy at our house, but we make it an event in ourselves. We typically have pizza and finger foods and drink beer and wine or whatever. But anyway, there's this lady that was walking in the same time I was, and I just asked her. I was like, I just like to strike up conversation with people. I mean, she just looked like a fun lady. Sometimes people appear approachable, and sometimes people they ain't looking to talk to nobody. But she looked approachable, and I just asked her if she was going in to get her Halloween candy, and she goes, hell no, I ain't going to get no Halloween candy. And she's like, fuck them kids. I'm like, fuck them kids. I'm like, it was just like, damn, lady, I didn't know I was going to get all that.
Besties, right?
Look, I got her number. I said, if you're looking to buy or sell a house, give me a call.
Yeah. But so I mean, the food accessibility is a big deal, and and there's so many pieces that come into play, and you start thinking about like I could go in anywhere and I could go buy whatever, right? Somebody black goes in those same places, they're gonna have a different experience. They're gonna get followed. They're gonna get treated different. Like even things like that are gonna affect it affects everything. Everything affects everything. But no matter what it is, whether it's diabetes, whether it's health. I mean that's health and diabetes are kind of the same thing. But whatever the issue is, whatever the need is, there's always other factors at play. If you've got somebody that's experiencing lack of food, there's lack of, job security, insecurity, there's all these other pieces that play. And so when we're in those groups, in those committees, we're trying to think about how do we approach that? How do we solve these problems? And unfortunately, the thing we're finding is that one problem requires us to solve 5 other problems, you know?
Right.
So it's kind of trying to figure out where do we start with something like that. But kind of, I think what we've come to is that, you know, people, they've got the education. They know, you know, we've taught people to death on what they need to do. It's just about being in community and about, you know, trying to find ways to have relationship with people. And if you're having a relationship with somebody, it's going to impact everything that they're doing in a little bit different way.
Yeah.
You know, you're in relationship with somebody, you're going to see the needs, you're going to help them meet the needs. It just all comes down to community and us looking out for each other.
Sure.
Which sounds really cliche, but
No, I mean, it does sound cliche, but I do get it. I do get it. But you know, and it takes me back to an article I read one time about how in America, how expensive fruit is and how fruit should be free. It talked about how in our communities and when we lay out our neighborhoods, you know, typically you have tree-lined streets and you put them full of trees that, you know, provide shade. And I'm not saying they're useless trees, but, you know, why aren't we putting fruit trees? Why aren't we planting apple trees, pear trees, cherry trees? Why aren't we putting things that are available there for the community to use? Instead, we think that they belong in an orchard somewhere that then people have to go pay for the fruit in order to.
You have your answer.
So, yeah,
If
you do have
make
your
it
answer.
accessible, then they don't have to pay for it. And
Yeah.
then that means that the person that wants them to pay for it isn't getting the money for it.
Yeah.
You could always trace it back to the money.
But I'd still probably go buy that damn apple because I might be too lazy to go pick it myself. I was like, pick up a
but
6-pack
you know
at the
what?
grocery store.
That's you, but what about the person that literally is living on the street?
Exactly.
You know?
But that's what I'm saying. It should be available to them. I think that we should put fruit trees
I agree.
on the street.
Did you also know, and this, I'm just going to say this because it pisses me off. Did you also know that there's a grocery store on, what is it, May and Britain? Uptown, is it Uptown? Is that what that's called? It's not anything about them. They're a great store. But they have all that hot food that's there. So they're like rows of hot food. And I went there one day. I was like, 2 minutes, 5 minutes before they closed, and they were taking all the food out, and it was still just full of food. And they said, well, we're closing. And I said, well, what are you doing with all the food? And they said, we have to throw it out. And like, I'm talking, they probably could have fed 100 people, the number of food, what there was. And they were going to have to throw it out. And they said that not only do they have to throw it out, but they have to throw it out and mix it, and they have to do something with it so that somebody can't pull it out of the trash can and eat it.
See, that's not right.
They have to destroy it.
That's not right.
I'm like, you know what?
That's wasteful.
Put it in containers. Let me go take it, and I'll just
take it to homeless shelters.
They wouldn't let me do it.
Take it to people on the street.
Wouldn't let me do it. Pissed me off. Anyway,
I don't blame you.
that has nothing to do with our topic.
But that's a lot of. I mean, it has to do with our topic and the fact that that's things that is wrong with the fucking world we live in today. Because technically, all of those grocery stores, if it's just going to be thrown away and it's still edible, it should be given away to either food pantries or places, soup kitchens, or places where people can distribute it to the people that need it.
Yeah. And I think that there's probably some piece of that probably has to do with the temperatures and
well, it comes down to we're a litigious society is what it comes
still
down to,
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
But, yeah.
But no, I'm with you. That would infuriate me as well.
But that's kind of, I don't have the ability to solve homelessness. I don't have the ability to solve poverty and all of those different things. But I do have the ability to kind of use my tenacity and my ability to run on almost zero sleep and to learn how to do stuff and have, working on creating Oklahoma Resource Hub. And I believe, based on the feedback that I've gotten from a lot of nonprofit leaders and just other people that I interact with on a daily basis, that I'm on to something.
Yeah, I would say you are.
It's hard for me to really talk myself up. That's just not a comfort thing for me. But one person, and I won't say who it is, but one person that I've interacted with in the last month or two through that process, he said in front of other people, you have just solved this problem. And he was going on and on about it. And I'm not going that far to say that I've solved the problem.
Yeah.
But I definitely, I keep looking at it and I keep asking myself, why is nobody doing this?
Right.
Why all these smart people, all these master's degrees, all these really intelligent people, why has nobody said, oh, we could just do that? So I'm doing it. And, I'm really excited about it and I'm really motivated by it. And my vision for it is that no matter who the person is, whether it's somebody that is street homeless or, my mom in Ponca City or, friends or whoever, that if you have something that you need, if you're looking for a business, if you're looking for a resource, or you're looking for something specific, that you're like, oh, let me just check Oklahoma Resource Hub and go find it and then carry on about your business, right?
Yeah.
And I would like for it to, at some point, be available in an app for, I would like to partner with Assist Wireless, Access Wireless, some of those cell phone companies that give the free and reduced phones, and be able to pre-install an app on those phones so that whenever they distribute those phones to people with that are lower income, that they would just automatically be right there. And
that makes sense.
They could just do it.
Hell yeah.
So that's the goal. And then if I can pull this off, if I can make this work and do it right, my intention is to try to take that state to state.
Okay.
So, but starting with Oklahoma.
It's not a if, it's a when, right?
I mean,
when you get it.
That's kind of how I feel.
There's always power in positive thinking. I have to remind myself that, because sometimes I get very down on myself. I have to really I really have to monitor my own self-talk.
Yeah. Well, I definitely see this as a definite. It's definitely happening. I think the question for me is, how quickly is it happening? Because I'm doing this right now with no income, no whatever I am spending, it's coming out of pocket, which my pockets definitely don't run deep, and so for me it's just a question of how long will it take.
Yeah.
And that's going to be based on just the money to get it done, because everything costs. Everything that the platform to do it on costs money to keep it going. All of the pieces cost money.
Yeah.
To have the email address costs money. All of the pieces cost money, and so it's just a matter of how long will it take me to kind of get that seed funding to get that up and going. And so I'm just carrying forward. I was just writing. I was working on my sales plan. I don't even have any salespeople, but I was writing out my sales plan for.
Well, I'm glad I got an opportunity to have you on. Don't get me wrong. My reach is narrow, but it's one of the things that I've been talking about, starting a podcast for 4 years now. Just right before COVID, I was talking about doing one, and I've just never done it. I was like, I don't know what it'll be, don't know what to do it on, don't know how to. But I will say one thing has always been consistent is people tend to call me for the numbers in my phone. People always do you know so and so? Do you know somebody? Do you know
I've literally called you and said, hey, you got long hair.
Yes,
long hair
but
repair.
People will call for specific people's phone numbers, or they'll say, do you have somebody that can do this? Or so I've toyed with okay, I could do something with this. So then I kind of thought, okay, I'm going to take the people in my phone, and I'm going to create a podcast out of just the people I know, and just have conversations. Your name starts with an A, and you just did our photographs, and you had this new venture that you're doing with the Impact 405, and I thought there's got to be a story there. There's got to be something that people need to know there. She's trying to get the word out. Anything I can do to help benefit that, I would love to do. Just because, for one, I think you're an amazing person. I think you have good intentions in what you do. I'm not really much into auras or whatever else, but you can get a feel for somebody, and you can kind of always get a feel I like this person, or this person, has a good intentions and feels good and doesn't. And then you have those people who they seem like energy sucker, or they're like a drain, or they're just so negative, or they're just,
some of those.
Oh my God, have we ever? And so then there's those people that you try to steer clear from. But so for this, I'm like, what can I do to? So then I thought about how I could put that together and make it something that people would be interested in watching. And so I thought, let's just take it and see what other people can tell their stories. Well,
I remember when we kind of around the time that we started being around each other on a regular basis was when Hetty was doing. He was doing a lot of the community stuff. Well, he's always doing community stuff, but when he was doing what was the things we were doing every month or whatever there?
He's had so many different things he's done, but he's done, I think he called it stories, or where he would interview somebody.
Yeah.
Hell, this is his freaking equipment. You know what I mean? Like, he's the one, because he's been the one to actually be a champion for me. You know,
He's
I mean,
that way for
it does,
everybody,
he
and I love
is.
that
He
about
really
him.
is. I mean,
But
he's a fucking great guy.
But
And
that's the thing, is that one of the things that I love about him, I mean, there's a lot of things, but one of the main things that I love about Hetty is that he's one of those people that when you're in that moment with him, you don't feel like he's got anything else in the world to do.
Yeah.
There's nobody else that needs him. You are front and center focus. And, you know, I just appreciate, you know, especially with him, that he's always been so open and sincere and loving with me. And my point of all of that was just, I remember when he was doing kind of all the stories and stuff, it just really does, it makes a huge difference to know the backstory for somebody. You know,
Yeah.
It helps you to understand them. It helps you, you know, if I know your backstory, it just gives me the ability to kind of, just to see you, to see you and to understand you better. And so I'm always going to give a little bit more grace to somebody if I kind of know their history, I know their life. You know, if you're acting like a complete asshole, I'm going to be like, oh yeah, but you know what? He's doing good.
Right.
He's doing good for him. You know, but you know, I definitely, every time I've told my story in depth, which I didn't get to really in here today, but when I've told my story in depth, the response that I get is, holy crap, you know?
Yeah. No, you didn't really talk about your story.
I didn't even graduate high school. I got my GED in 1993, but I finished 9th grade in drug rehab. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so.
But, you know, for me, like, knowing that about you, like, that makes me love you that much more.
Yeah.
I mean, that tells me that you overcome adversity. You can do anything you put your mind to.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, there are people that are dealt shitty hands sometimes. Mm-hmm. But it's all in how you play it sometimes too. And I mean, you took those cards and you're like, okay, I'm going to make something of myself. You know, and it's taken me a long time to realize making something of yourself isn't all about houses, cars, bank accounts. It's about
that's good,
people.
because I ain't got any of those.
It's about people. It's about connections.
Yeah.
It's about community. It's about family. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've learned over the years too that family isn't who you were born to. You know, I mean, I have friends out there that I consider family, way above blood.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got blood relatives that, I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't wish them ill, but I definitely have family, or I have friends that I consider much closer family than my own blood. So
yeah,
I just think, you know, to know and hear part of your story and to know some of the things that you went through. I mean, I said in the beginning, you know, your health, you went through hell and back. I mean, you had some misdiagnosis. You went through a lot of shit.
Yeah, they literally thought I had narcolepsy and treated me for narcolepsy for 7 years, but it turned out I had really severe sleep apnea.
That's just
that
insane.
Was basically going to kill me. Yeah, but you know, now I'm on the other side of that.
But now you're on the other side, you know? I mean, sometimes you wonder, like, what the hell was the life lesson in that? I don't know. And sometimes you do know. Sometimes you when you look back and reflect, like, well, this happened and this happened and this happened, and you know, you have some great things that occurred in your life during those times. But at the same time, sometimes when you're living it, you're like, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because at that period of time, I literally could not stay awake. I mean, I would fall asleep while I was actively walking. Like I was moving from one object to another and would just fall asleep. Or I leaned over, I say it all the time, and it's probably annoying to those that are around me very often, but I leaned across my bed to grab my phone and woke up 3 hours later. You know, like it was very, very severe. And I was told that my oxygen was dropping to the 50% while I slept at night. So I was basically just a bad moment away from a heart attack.
Oh my God.
My doctor literally said, he said, you need to have a trach. And I said, I'm not going to do a trach. And he said, if you don't have a trach, you're going to fucking die. My doctor said, if you don't get a trach, you're going to fucking die. And I said, let me think about it. You know, like, that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
But I ended up, obviously, I did do the trach and had that for 2.5 years. And that was awful. But you know, it gave me perspective now that I didn't have before. And it gives me the ability to feel more compassion toward people that live that way daily, that will live that way forever. You know,
Right.
Maybe it was for that. Maybe, who knows? Maybe it was the relationships that I've made along the way. You know, it doesn't matter. I know that I'm very grateful for, definitely very grateful for the little things like leaning. When I had the trach in, even if I just leaned slightly, it would displace and it was painful, you know.
Yeah.
So just simple little things. It's like I'm grateful. I've always been kind of grateful because I've had the ability to, you know, because of the things that I've had or lost or gone through. I'm very grateful for the small things, but even more so for the big things, you know. 'Cause
Yeah.
I definitely never thought I would have any of those kind of things, but. You know, the thing that I think about all the time is, you know, you hear people talk about legacy, like what's my legacy, right? Yeah. And you were talking about, you know, cars and trucks and houses and all that. That's not going to be your legacy.
No.
You know, your legacy is how, you know, how are people going to remember you? What did you do that made a difference? And that's, you know, that's, I'm not doing Oklahoma Resource Hub with Impact 405 because I want people to be like, oh my God, Angela was amazing. I'm doing it because I want it to make a difference. And I want the legacy for me to be that I did something that changed people's lives.
Yeah.
I don't need them to remember me. I just want to know that I did something that, you know, I can't help people I can't make people not experience homelessness. I can't get rid of food insecurity, but can I do something that makes going through that suck less? You know, and that's my motivation for what I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, how can people reach you? How can they find you?
Give me money. They can find me through you because you have my number, obviously.
Yeah.
No, the easiest way for me is my website is impact405.org, and all of my contact information is on that.
Okay. And that's impact, and then the number is 405?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
At .org, and then my email is connect@impact405.org.
Okay.
And my phone number's on there.
Well, maybe through this,
Just don't send
we'll find you
nudes and we're good.
Okay, no nudes.
No dick pics. Thanks.
No.
No.
All right. Well,
No.
good deal.
Cool.
All right. Well, thanks for coming.
Thanks for having
Appreciate
me.
you.
Thank you.